Hollywood Actor Podcast with Alberto Bonilla, Part 2.
And so when you were going through maybe a little bit of your training in Arizona, but mostly at Rutgers, that MFA program, and then transitioning into the real working world in New York, did you feel that you had removed a lot of those barriers for yourself? Did you feel a lot more judgment-free?
You know, I think that I think I did. I think I removed barriers, but I think the tougher part was actually, especially the first year of the Meisner work, was kind of like stripping you away. Sometimes people say that the first year of the Meisner work strips you away and you're this raw nerve. And I kind of feel like what it actually does, it's actually just shining a light on what you really feel about things, on what you really believe, and what you really has meaning for you, what actually has significance for you, like real significance. Because I think, like, I remember I think I tried to craft an activity around me getting an award. And I was like, oh, I'm getting an award and recognition for this. And I came in and I did it. And I remember Maggie being like, you don't really care about this. And I was like, no, I do. I really do. She's like, no, because if you really did, then this life would come out inside of you. This life would really come out inside of you. And then I remember the next activity, I was like, all right, I got to really pick what would really make me happy. Like, what would really make me so happy. And then I imagined walking my mom down the aisle, which I got to do, oddly enough, which was amazing. Because my mom was divorced, and now she's remarried and very happy. And so I crafted something around that. And I remember when I did it in the room with Maggie, it just happened, man. It was such a deep joy. And I had tears coming out, and I wasn't like jumping up and down, crazy joy. It was this just real, genuine. And then the activity went great, and the scene went great. And I turned, and I remember Maggie smiling at me, and she looked at me and she says, now you're really working with meaning. And I remember that so, I was like, oh, I really don't care about an award. I care about my mom being happy.
Yeah. And you're taking that focus off of yourself. You're putting the focus on somebody else's well-being, health, happiness.
Yeah. And it was like, and it was interesting because it was when it really has meaning, it's actually easier. Like half the work is done for you when you're really working from an honest place, when you're really working from a place of being open. It's easier. And it was like one of those aha moments where I was like, oh, yeah, when it really has meaning, it comes out of you.
I just think that modern American society doesn't help teach us those types of things.
Oh, not at all.
If it did, it doesn't anymore. And so we're having to discover these things for ourselves in 2019 for ourselves as individuals.
Absolutely. And it's so hard, especially even nowadays. I mean, there's so much emphasis on branding and what your look and get your Instagram followers. And it's just so much of this result-orientated gloss. And even when we're looking through our Instagrams of our friends or Facebook, it's like this 30-second commercial that people are putting out. And I mean, it's really hard to be like, oh, what really means something to you? Like, honestly.
Because all of that is antithetical to the craft of acting.
Totally.
But all this business stuff and a lot of this social media and the fragmentation is getting us to put the focus on things that aren't opening us up, that aren't revealing us, that are putting the focus on ourselves.
Exactly. And it's really kind of backwards because the whole point of getting a ton of followers, of getting a fan base, if you want to say, is so that you can show your honesty and share your honesty.
Exactly.
But so much of it is not being honest and trying to get that. And it's this backwards kind of thing. It's like, I gotta make sure everybody thinks I'm living my best life so that they can see the torment of my story. It's like, come on. Yeah. It's tough. It's especially today. I do not envy, the struggles that a young actor has that were different than when I was, coming up the ranks, as they would say.
When you were coming up the ranks, That's a great segue. How were you involved in social media? How were you involved in exposing yourself to the industry when you were just out the gate from drama school, dropping on the streets of Manhattan?
Oh my God, I remember that so clearly. It was, so we, Rutgers did a big showcase in Manhattan, and Bill and Maggie helped us. We shaped it, and we did all this stuff, and yeah, I remember I think I had like something like 26 or 27 casting directors, all wanting my headshot and resume, all wanting my information, but not one agent, not one. And I remember looking at my sheet, because you got this sheet of paper which had like all the listings of everything. I'm looking at the sheet of paper, and I'm so hurt. I was like, I don't understand it. How all these people who want to give the jobs all want to see me, but no agent or manager wants to see me. But oddly enough, the person that I ended up freelancing for many years, I freelanced with a bunch of people. They came about through just meeting one of them, who's my current agent now, Pantera Murphy, who I've been with for many years, who I love dearly. They have been amazing for me. And my manager, who I met 6 years after, all of that was built on the foundation of hustling, working hard, and just, I think the industry changed a bit too, because back when I hit New York, the soap operas were still there. And what was so great was you could get on a soap, and they had such a high turnover that you could do like one soap this month, the next month you could be in under 5, and because they were one-offs, they weren't repeated, so you could use the same actor as the waiter, as the same actor, and you would be okay. So I did a lot of soap opera stuff, and what was great about I became reoccurring on All My Children. That was like my first like kind of gig that I got, and it was great because the regulars, they were so kind. I remember my first day on there. Actually, the first day I was going to work on as the reoccurring was the day of 9/11.
Jeez.
And I was living in Jersey City, and I was so dirt poor. I was temping at Morgan Stanley in Times Square, actually, and I was getting on the PATH train. And I was running late, and I had my my change of clothing, because it was I just knew I had to change clothing because I didn't want to show up in my work clothes to the set. And I was going to go to Morgan Stanley, and then I was going to take a half day and then show up on set for my call out at ABC Studios. And I take the PATH.
That's the first stop on the PATH train, right? When you get into New York City.
So the one in that's exactly right. So I was at Grove Street was the stop I would get on, and then when it get to Manhattan, you'd go World Trade Center, and then it would go, I think, 14th Street, and then or Christopher Street, 14th Street. I think that was it, or maybe that was the other one. No. I'm not quite sure, but I know the one I was taking was going into World Trade Center, because when I got to World Trade Center, and this is 2 or 3 minutes before the first plane hit, I had my headphones on, and I was so involved in my own world. And I hadn't eaten. The night before, I didn't have any money for dinner. And, real struggling artist. I was dirt poor. So like this All My Children gig was a big deal. Not just for me getting real before the people even had reels. It was just me getting food. And I remember I got in line for a smoothie. And I'm standing in line, and the line is really long. And I'm like, okay. I remember this very clearly. I said, I got a choice. I can either stay in line and get a smoothie and be okay, or I can go hungry today, and I can go do my job, and then I'll eat afterwards, or maybe they'll even have some catering or something there, and I can save myself some money. So I decide to save myself some money. So I'm going over my lines. I'm going over what I'm doing in my mind, and I get to the C train. And this story is actually there's a book that was published called Tower Stories that this one of the people from Rutgers actually wrote. This story made it in there. And I get on the C train, and there's nobody on it except for two people, both who had headphones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is early in the morning, like 8:48 or whatever. This is crazy. I'm like, why is there nobody on this train? I went back and did the timing of it. It was probably when the first plane hit. And then the train just shuts its doors and all of a sudden goes express and just leaves. And I'm like, they just left? What the heck? And so when I get to work, when I finally get to Morgan Stanley at Times Square, I go up to my floor and nobody's on the nobody's at their desks, but all on the computers are the towers and smoke on their like computer screen from like the news or whatever. So then I go over to the side of the building, and then I see the towers burning. And
you can see it out the window.
Oh yeah, saw it out the window from Times Square, 1585 Broadway. Yeah, and so all of a sudden they evacuate the building, and so I'm evacuating the building. And this is how much of so it's funny how your brain works in crisis when you don't know what the crisis is or whatever. I call the stage manager at ABC and I go, hi, are we still filming today? And they're like, yes. Why? Of course we're still filming. Why wouldn't we be? I'm like, because we're being attacked by terrorists.
Wow. You told the stage manager of all my children. The stage manager at ABC.
And they're like, well, hold on a second. And then like hang up. And I didn't have a cell phone. I'm like, I stopped in at a New York Sports Club, and I'm in the New York Sports Club. And oh no, I did have a cell phone. I called them from the New York Sports Club, but then I called my friend from my cell phone in New York Sports Club. And that's when I was there, and then the first tower fell and I saw it. And then all the cell phones died in Manhattan, just gone. So a week and a half later, they finally go back into production or whatever it is and I go back. So my first day as reoccurring was after 9/11. And what I was getting to before I got off on the whole 9/11 tangent was, first and foremost, I was never, ever more grateful to be an artist that day, because choosing art literally saved my life. Like I would have been underneath there when all that happened.
Yeah.
So, and the second thing was, everybody on that set, people made fun of soap opera acting and stuff, but every actor on that set was so giving. I didn't know about how to really work a camera. I didn't know how to do all that. And I got on the set training when I would do the scene, then because you only got like 2-3 takes, 3 max if it was like good, and they were moving fast. And we would do the camera rehearsal. And then after the camera rehearsal, the guy I think his name was Vincent, or his character's name was Vincent, would come over and he'd be like, hey, Alberto, do this, hold up, turn here, wait 2 seconds, then pull away. It's going to look better on camera because they're going to switch to camera this thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he would explain it to me. And so my first shot when I did it came out so great that they started bringing me back. And every time I would go, these soap opera actors were so giving. And we're just like, yeah, now do it this way. And I learned on the set. And what's sad today is that doesn't exist. All you have are like student films where they're still learning, or you got to book something big. There wasn't this like little in-between thing that you could learn how to be in front of a camera, even just avoiding the wires on there, or understanding and being under the lights and that pressure. I got to do all of that and got paid. So when I finally did book like my first big thing, which was The Sopranos, I had already had some like experience on set. So I knew how to work the camera as well as keep my honesty under pressure and everything. And that doesn't exist anymore for young actors.
Yeah.
They got to kind of shoot it themselves.
Yeah. Right. That's incredibly invaluable to have people that are that giving, like you're saying. Probably because those people have been working day in, day out with each other. It's creating that sense of community. They're trying to bring you into that world and not have you as an outsider, which so many of these shows have. They have these actors that plug and play. A lot of the crew plugs and plays for day players. They squeeze these guest roles into a single day now. It's a lot of that increased fragmentation is how I continue to put it. And it's trying, especially as an actor, to get onto these sets where people know what they're doing on a daily basis and are churning out content on a professional level. That's increasingly difficult, like you're saying, for actors. They have to book that big role in a big film or a series regular right out the gate and pray that that show knocks it out of the park now so that show gets to stay on television for more than 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I loved doing The Sopranos. It was a gig that was when the first time I knew like really what it was like to be like on a hit show on a big set, like because All My Children was a machine. It's like Law and Order. It was like a machine that was just boom, 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 and then I got on The Sopranos, and I actually got cast and then uncast, and then I got cast again in another role.
Oh, okay.
I went in for a stunt role where the person gets shot in the neck, and it was like one line, and then I got shot in the neck, and I went into the audition, and then they got it. They called me. They're like, "You're so great. They loved you. You're it." And I was so excited. This is another lesson I learned. Don't tell anybody what you've booked or anything until after you've shot. And even then, hold off until you see the edit or something, because I called my dad. I was telling everybody. I was like this. And then my agent, it was actually Meg Ventura. She calls me. She's like, "Hey, Alberto, they want to see you on set at the Sopranos house because the director's out there." And I was like, "Oh, is this a fitting?" They're like, "No, they just want to see you." And in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh shit, is this a callback? I better just go dressed as how I was." And it was me and 3 other people. And I remember we went in and we did the callback, and I wasn't ready, and I just flubbed it. I just flubbed it. And then afterwards, they were like, "We love your work. We love who you are. This just isn't yours." And then when I went in for another role, that was the one I booked, which was actually better because I actually had lines, and it was in Vesuvio's restaurant, and it was Silver Cup Studios, man. It was that's where Highlander was. It was huge. It was pretty amazing to shoot that.
Nice. How have you noticed that the going from All My Children, The Sopranos, Law and Order, and now you've been working on some Netflix shows, Iron Fist, Russian Doll. How have you been noticing that that content has been informing your career over the last maybe 5 or 10 years?
Well, I think that one thing I'm noticing, which is a good thing, is there is so much more diversity, and that you can really be more yourself. But I'm also noticing that everything with time, it's moving even faster. There are things. I remember my first NBC pilot, a comedy pilot that I booked completely off of self-tape. And I put myself on tape, sent it off, and because it was so secretive, they didn't give me a script. They gave me an outline of an improv. And so I did the outline of the improv, and it was really funny, and I sent it off. And then I got they contacted my agent. They're like, "Great, you're going to Atlanta." And I was like, "No callback? Am I meeting anybody?"
Wow.
Or
One tape?
Nope. One tape, one take, one off an improv. You're going to Atlanta. Here are the dates. You're going to go do this. And there it is. And so I was like, great. I booked a pilot. It's a possible reoccurring character. It's untitled. We're not going to, sign all these like non-disclosure everything, which is the other thing. It's like everybody's so secretive about everything now. It's so, you can't post anything unless it's like, and they're serious. I know somebody that actually booked something on a Marvel, and they posted on it that they booked something on a Marvel, and then they were uncast.
No way.
Right away. Yeah, they were uncast right away. You had no idea what they were doing, who they were playing, or anything. But they posted like a thumbs up, and then they put #Marvel, and
Unreal.
then they and they uncast them. right away. They're so secretive about this stuff, and that's one big change in the industry. It's like now, because I guess because it's moved so fast and people are posting so much and these spoilers, and they're scared that if you get a spoiler and the spoiler's bad or good, then nobody's going to watch the show. I mean, it's really like the NDAs the non-disclosure agreements that I was signing for this. It was a pilot for NBC. It was just huge. Like it was like a Bible of signing. You know,
my God.
We'll take your firstborn if you mention this. And so when I got there, they had actually told everybody that they were doing it was a commercial shoot for like an aftershave. Mm-hmm. And so we're doing this. And so then I get there and I'm like, great, can I get a script? And they said, yes, you can go into this room and you can look at the script. You have to hand in your phone to us. I was like, I have to give you my phone? Like, yeah. And you cannot take the script out of the room.
The script that you're about to perform.
The script I'm going to do the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, I really can't. They were so secretive about it. And I was like, I really can't take this out. Like, I got to memorize my lines. Like, well, you can spend time in here working on it, and then we'll give you an outline. And they gave me this little outline with like a PowerPoint thing. Remember to do this, 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 and this. And I was like, okay. So and it was a comedy. And so I go there and I'm working the script and I'm working to memorize it. And then I get my little outline. I go up to my hotel room and I got a really early morning call. Had trouble sleeping because I was worried because I wanted to have the script all night. And then I wake up the next day, I get in there and then they hand me the script in the van and I'm like, okay, great. So I'm like reading it with the other actor. We're like doing this. And this guy had been in shooting the whole time. And I was like, hey, dude, is this like, do you get your scripts longer or something? He's like, nope. He's like, I'm like, why? He's like, they're really paranoid about this for whatever reason. They were just like super secretive. And I'm like, okay, great. And then they go to do the shot and I kind of get why, because they were kind of guerrilla shooting something that was kind of half real, half not at this place.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, great. We're here. We're all there. And then they come up to me and they go, okay, Alberto, because there's pyrotechnics in this, you're going to get one take. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. I haven't had the script. You're going to give me one take and it's super secretive. And that's it. And like, yes. So I got one take. Wow. Went out, did the thing, pyrotechnics, all this stuff went up. I come back and then and again, everything's moving so fast. They were like, great job. That was so good. We're taking you to the airport right now to go home. They wouldn't even pay for me to stay the night for the next night. I get home and I tell you, it was the most stressful thing. And all because they were keeping the budget tight. They were being super secretive. So I would say a big change in how you have to be as an artist is your training has to be so sharp and on point so that you can be flexible under these crazy new circumstances of sometimes you don't get the script until late, or you really have a very limited amount of time, or they're so tight on the budget they can only do a certain amount of takes. I mean, it's not as much in like the larger shows. Marvel is really secretive about what you should do. But they have a very high expectation.
That is such an excellent illustration of that, especially because we see a lot of projects now that are just throwing NDAs and paper at you. You kind of feel like the idea of it is diluted. Everything is moving so fast, but you don't sometimes realize when you're actually shooting something that it will still be happening that fast on these big projects that are flying you across the country. You think on some of them that they're spending this much money, this much effort to keep these things secret and of such a quality that eventually they're going to slow down and finesse a scene to make it of that quality that it's now deserving of. And you're saying that doesn't happen. And I have been hearing
not with every project. I mean, Iron Fist was great. I loved shooting on Iron Fist. They were, they really took it felt like filmmaking when I shot on Iron Fist. the amount of detail and time and what they did and how they were doing the lighting and stuff. It's also a very small industry because when I was shooting on there, the prop person came up and was like, "Alberto, it's so good to see you."
Oh.
And then half of me kind of freaked out
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, "How do I know you?" And then he's handing me the briefcase. "Oh, don't worry, Alberto, you might not recognize me, but I handled all your props when you were reoccurring on Law and Order SVU."
No way.
I'm sorry, Law and Order Criminal Intent.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I said, "Oh my gosh," I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that we had worked together before." And then I said, just out of curiosity, because I was kind of sporadic. I wasn't like a major character. I was like basically reoccurring under 5. I said, how do you remember me? How, you worked with tons of people. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for this because he said, "You always put away your costumes. You always hung them up, and you always made sure all of my props got back to me."
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, this is a collaborative team effort. And when you, as an actor, remember to respect other people's work, they do remember you. Because I didn't remember this person. This person clearly remembered me.
That's awesome. Yeah. On an interpersonal level between these different craftsmen, that we are still nurturing that respect for each other.
Yeah, and that just comes from my theater background training of you always put your prop back on the prop table.
Yeah.
You always, so that you like, and that's just like some basic kind of thing. But
yeah,
apparently there are actors that don't do this, which surprises me. They just leave it all rolled up on the floor. They're costumers. I've had costumers when I've gone into to do a show and they recognize me. Now I don't say, "How do you recognize me?" And now I realize it's because I actually hang my stuff. But I also have a thing about that for myself, is that I kind of feel your prop, your costume and everything is kind of honoring and respecting the character and the life that you brought to the screen or to the play. And I don't want to dishonor that. Did you know what I mean? Like I was given a gift.
Yeah.
I was given a gift because, there are 100 other actors that would have killed to do this part. And today I'm the lucky one. Today I get this gift.
But like you're saying, on so many projects, we're being kind of thrown around a little bit. So we think, or maybe we're feeling that we're being, the respect is going away slightly, or at least the emphasis is being taken away. And I think that is a larger truth that I'm understanding through, especially the Hollywood Actor Podcast, is learning that, the emphasis is being taken away from the actors, from us being the singular storytellers. And it's being given more collaboratively to the lighting department, to costume, to special effects, all the different departments, some of which have just exploded in terms of sheer numbers of people on the ground back in the production offices, the data aspects, the technology aspects that are these departments that were not even in existence maybe even 10 years ago, and are of such a vital nature to some of the content that's being created today.
It's interesting when I was my first national tour as an actor, when I turned to Equity, I was really young. It was like 21 or 22. No, it was 22 or 23. And it was Sesame Street Live, which was really funny. I was Grover in a Muppet costume and Telly Monster dancing around. And I remember I was dealing with some people who were not very professional and who were doing things like not leaving their clothing around. Like they weren't very conscious of their space. And I remember talking to my dad, and I was furious, and I was, kind of venting to my dad. And I was like, what I should do? I should leave my stuff around and see how they feel. And I remember my dad saying, "Okay, you need to calm down, because number one, you are a professional. And just because somebody else isn't a professional does not give you license to be unprofessional." And I remember like, oh yeah, you're even on a student film, if you're working, be grateful, be open, be respectful. Like, because there's enough anger and angst and horrible things on this world, and also tough things in this industry. So why are you going to add to that? Be part of the solution, be part of the light on a set, be part of the light backstage. And I just remember my dad really saying, like, you don't have a license to do that just because somebody else is.
Yeah.
Be the better actor, be the better artist.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening.